Hello, and welcome back to the SpaceCube Archives. This week I'm here with Cassandra of the Void. She still appears like a goat on my screen right now, don't know why. But we're actually going to be doing a sort of two-part podcast thing. The first part here on this channel, and the second part on her channel. I'm calling this Abandoned by Disney. Two really great animated movies that we're watching that really got screwed over by Disney in the early 2000s. This first one is on Treasure Planet. So, Cass?
Yes.
So before we get into the actual plot of the movie itself and discuss that stuff, what are your thoughts on the whole situation with how Disney screwed over Atlantis and Treasure Planet?
Oh, it was brilliantly clever, and I want to throw everyone involved into traffic.
You know, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, that's my general thoughts. I can understand if the software was difficult to use or expensive, but that is really the worst way to get rid of it.
But yeah, I've got my notes basically divided between three parts here. You can bring up your thoughts on these parts as...
Oh, my notes are a giant mess, so I'll just follow your lead here.
Alright, fair enough. So, my first part of my notes is on the prologue. It's just that, and my first note is just, yeah, Treasure Planet is just a really fascinating movie. It's really pretty, and there's just so much lore and world building that's hinted at that we never actually see or get expanded on because of the fact that it was just made to serve the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like, so many...
The alien design is really quite special in this.
Yeah, and the technology design too. So many anachronistic fusions of technology. This is basically a space society that values aesthetic above anything else.
And honestly, God bless him for it.
I really enjoyed the storybook sequence. Captain Flint turns out to be even more of kind of a dick than he comes off in the book, honestly, considering what we see towards the end.
Somehow.
And then after the time skip, we just get the solar board sequence. That whole early solar board sequence, I guess it's a Chekhov's gun after all, huh?
Oh, it really is. And you just know looking at that, yeah, they were really inspired by the pod race sequence from Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Pain, I mean.
Wait.
The Phantom Blood, wait.
Wait!
But you get my point, right? It really shows that Episode 1 was really redefining sci-fi and pop culture for a little while.
Yeah. And I really found the delinquency record kind of an interesting factor, but also makes me wonder just how much that was inspired by like actual skateboarders skating in restricted areas during that time and era.
Yeah, and it would make sense, and because it does fit how restless Jim obviously is in this backwater.
Yeah, it's almost a Tatooine sort of planet, but you know,
it really does show that that Phantom Menace and Star Wars in general already did draw on classics like Treasure Island heavily.
Yeah. Also, old Billy Bones, that pirate, is a really interesting design, and just the warning about the cyborg. I feel like in the original material of Treasure Island, the whole warning about the hook hand would maybe be a little more pertinent, since cyborgs are probably relatively commonplace in comparison to hook hands back then.
Yeah, I suppose, but at the same time, it seems notable among the cast that we see.
Yeah.
We just don't know how actually typical the pirates we see infiltrate. Like, since it turns out the crew is largely actually pirates, it's really questionable how typical of a crew they actually represent in terms of distribution of who would have cybernetics, what kind of person would end up with augmentations or prosthetics in either sense.
Yeah, that's true. And also with the whole Jim managing to solve the puzzle of the map and everything, I just had to note he's a bright kid even if he's a bit mischievous.
Yeah,
And
he's bored. He has ADHD,
like Bart Simpson.
basically.
And I also just have the note of when the captain came onto the scene and everything, and just about half of the people coming to the inn and everything. This movie made so many furries.
Yeah, but at the same time, Jim's mom is right there.
Exactly. Like, it's the contrast. Like, we know where the furries came from because they didn't go for Jim's mom.
Oh yeah, this if you're just basically if you're attracted to women as a small child, you came away from this movie either really into furries, really into milfs, or both.
God, yeah, that's true. For the next part, I have it labeled as Part 2, The Adventure. And I liked how the captain was already playfully flirting with Dilbert and calling him dumb in an affectionate name. In an
Yeah,
affectionate way.
he's just never ever gonna notice that ever.
Yeah.
He's gonna go, oh, she's so rude. Jim, oh my god, you're so stupid.
And then there was when we finally met Silver in this movie, I felt like Long John Silver made a really good first impression of the sort of character he was, honestly.
Yeah.
Someone who'd been chasing something forever, but also was maybe still changing and open to changing more himself. Which is a more sympathetic take from Treasure Island from what I've been told. I heard Silver in the original book was just kind of an irredeemable bastard.
Unsurprising with how people probably viewed pirates more back then,
Oh yeah.
when they were slightly more relevant. I just would like to know, going into the adventure with the crew, with Treasure Planet, you don't have the Dr. Livesey strut, you have the Arrow strut.
Yeah.
So should that be the title of the episode?
Maybe.
Come on.
But yeah, I also like the reaction those two had at first, Jim and Silver, to being stuck together with each other. Just like, well, I'm stuck with you now, you know?
Yeah.
Also, I will say the farts as a language gag has easily aged the most poorly out of all of these in this.
Yeah.
And then as the ship takes off and everything, those space mantas and whales, I just always love to imagine like spacefaring animals that are similar to sea life on Earth. So it was really interesting to see. Any thoughts on the animals?
Not particularly. I'm actually ending up looking this up, and were you aware that Mr. Arrow here is is prominent in the 90s Spider-Man cartoon?
Oh, his voice actor, you mean?
That's Kingpin.
Huh. You know, listening to it, I can kind of hear it, but it's definitely given a different inflection and everything.
He was the narrator of Babe and the second Garfield movie.
Oh, Garfield: A Tale of Two Kitties.
Yes. At some point, I'm going to bring at least some of you through a podcast of at least the first Babe movie. That movie's both the Babe movies. They are delightful.
Have you ever noticed that that during that whole time period there were like 10,000 different new adaptations of The Prince and the Pauper?
Not really.
Well,
Now
it
that you pointed out it, now that I kind of vaguely remember that, but I hadn't thought of it in so long.
yeah, like there was Barbie, The Princess and the Pauper, Garfield, The Tale of Two Kitties. There was a Simpsons episode. There was
Part of me almost wonders if it's a similar situation, like was a precursor to what's going on right now with Pinocchio movies.
maybe. And I also have the note that the captain is already pretty damn charmed by the doctor.
Yeah.
And then I also just had the note that Silver's crew is a pretty rowdy sort, and they definitely seem unreliable to actually listen to him.
Yeah, he has the worst taste in friends.
Yeah. And then my next note is, yes, the classic early 2000s trope. Bonding montage to early 2000s pop punk.
That song aged worse than any other bit of the soundtrack.
I still kind of have a soft spot for it, and
I get the sentiment, but this one I just cannot get behind. Even I can only handle so much. And just to go back a bit, first the robot cops, really cool designs, but ACAB, especially with how they act.
Yeah, Barricade's a better cop than them.
I want that library. I want Delbert's library. I'm going to make a copy of that in the hotel.
That's fair.
Did you notice the name of the planet they're from is a fucking Edgar Allan Poe reference?
Oh, Montresor?
Yeah, from the Cask of Amontillado.
Oh!
She's the one who seals the dude up in the wall. For the love of God, Montresor!
God.
And I just and note, and also on the space station, to go back to that for a second, looking at the architecture. Yeah, they really liked Phantom Menace. That's Naboo.
Yeah, that's fair.
Going to the desert, going from the isolated rural place the young protagonist is stuck onto Naboo-style planet. I see it.
Also, I'll just say, back on the old montage thing, in some ways I can still really relate to that song, but one part is really something I just don't really always relate to anymore, you know?
What's that?
The part about growing up to be a man.
Oh, yeah, we failed that completely. Or in your case, is it more like task failed successfully?
I mean, a 50% is still a failing grade.
True. The star exploding was an excellent sequence. It makes no sense in actual stellar physics, but it just goes to show this is just no space ocean, whatever the fuck,
Like, if I really wanted to use an explanation in universe, if I was ever to use Treasure Planet stuff in another sci-fi setting, I would just blatantly make it Magitech.
That makes sense. Like Spelljammer. That was like an actual D&D spin-off thing.
Mm-hmm. And also, I have the note that, wow, Silver got really fucked up going after this treasure over the years, didn't he?
Yeah. Honestly, I can't see that bit without thinking of the fact that I've mostly seen it on Tumblr after caution, do not fist android girls.
God. And I can't believe that a fucking star goes fucking supernova in the middle of their fucking trip.
Yeah, I thought that would actually turn out to be connected to the whatever was happening with the treasure planet,
Yeah.
But no, it just fucking happened, and they have to deal with that, I guess.
Yeah. And there's just so much solar debris. I'm not sure how much the laser weaponry would actually be able to help against, plasma flying at them like that.
But I guess it could be some kind of thing to disperse, something to the magnetic containment that stabilizes the blasters makes the plasma diffuse a bit somehow.
Maybe. Also,
Blah blah blah
with
blah blah blah. They're just blah blah containment fields to disrupt the plasma.
also with the whole collapse into the black hole, which it would never happen that quickly in real time. We know this, but the appearance and look of the black hole actually is relatively accurate to how we would see them appear when we finally got photos of black holes.
Yeah, I suppose so, but damn, fucking Jesus Christ, Mr. O did not deserve that.
Oh yeah, that spider guy is a fucking dick.
Is that Starscream?
No, I feel like Starscream would even realize when not to backstab someone yet. Like he could recognize they should at least wait until they get on world.
Yeah.
And it just hurts to see how much Jim's obsessing over the knots and how much he's blaming himself for Arrow's death too.
Yeah.
And despite Silver's moral standing, he really is the sort of parental figure Jim needed in that moment.
Yeah.
And
yep. Sometimes you fuck up, sometimes people die. Gotta live with that.
Yeah, and just him musing out loud, oh, they're gonna make me think they're going to think I went soft, and you have.
Dad of boy.
And then what I have for the part 3 notes, I have it labeled as the planet. My first note is when the mutiny goes down, Morph so obviously basically torn between two parents.
Yeah.
And then, like, when they actually end up escaping to the planet and everything, then Jim has to go scouting while the doctor's caring for... I should mention, not a medical doctor, caring for the captain. Just bumping into Ben and everything. My first thought was just immediately, yes, a literally brainless robot.
Ben would have been more interesting if, like, I guess this is a little closer to the original story, but I don't know. But if Ben had been introduced as like a piece of shit robot Jim had been trying to repair at the inn before, I feel like he would have been more interesting if you just toned him down and worked him in from the start. Like, his role would have been a lot better. But he is, he's just annoying.
And let's be honest, it would have been kind of interesting for multiple relics associated with Treasure Planet to have been scattered around the galaxy.
Why do you? Maybe that there's some kind of beacon in the map guiding it to like the information that they would need, even if it's been ripped out.
Yeah, and actually, when I first saw the missing part in Ben's head, I was expecting Jim to have to shove the map into the back of his skull.
Yeah, imagine a bit where in Delbert's library they initially wired into the back of Ben's head and like use his eyes as a projector.
Yeah, that'd be pretty interesting. But the whole honestly 90% of the whole plot line with Ben ended up basically being a red herring because, like, yeah, I think they can tell that there was a booby trap at that point by the time it's revealed.
Yeah, it really doesn't really solve anything except the problem it created to justify a mascot character.
Yeah.
When they already had one.
Yeah, Morph.
Yeah, I think Morph is more than enough. I think you can either have Morph or Ben here, and both is too much.
Yeah, you can have both, but you would have to tone down Ben quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I just have to note as the planet started to explode and everything that, oh yeah, that skeleton of Flint over there, he's a bitter dick of a pirate. What use is treasure if you don't ever use it?
Yeah, he gained nothing, he just sat there and died.
Oh god, I just had a thought. Imagine in an AU where Treasure Planet is happening, like, in a galaxy just left of the Milky Way or something, right?
Right?
Later on during DC, and it turns out it's DC's universe that it happened in. And
God.
so at one point, when Larfleeze is doing his thing, you just get Captain Flint's spirit as one of the constructs from the Agent Orange ring.
That would be lovely. I just want to know, god damn, welcome to Mushroom Hell, and holy shit, this doctor's just having 10 panic attacks every minute.
I mean, can you blame him for having that many panic attacks?
Oh no, I know, he is barely functional right now.
Oh yeah. Also, he really showed some surprising chops in marksmanship. He just ended up being a complete natural with a pistol.
Yeah.
Just the moment of, did you aim for that? You know what? Actually, I did? What the hell? And then as we ended up nearing the climax of the movie and everything, after a lot of conflict between Silver and Jim and them going back and forth, this actually both causing them to, in a way, grow closer even as they're conflicting with each other. Jim eventually ends up saving the day through cleverness and surfing.
Hell of a set of traits.
I mean, apparently they'll be apparently from the just few months later epilogue thing, they ended up coming in handy for advancing through the military academy.
Yeah, apparently he's some kind of super surfer soldier. Also, I'd just like to remind you, when it comes to those babies, that it was Delbert, according to the commentary, who gave birth.
Oh yeah. Huh.
Do you think that's just a thing with his species, or what happened just with their combination specifically?
Possibly just their combination specifically.
How terrified was he?
Probably very. And I also had the note that, damn, considering that was just a few months, the doc sure got busy in that amount of such a short amount of time.
God, I can't believe Dr. Delbert is so submissive and I am shot.
God damn it, Cass.
Well, obviously it's canon if it went that fast, right?
I suppose so.
And if it's him who gave birth, you know, it's canon, and you have to accept this now.
You know that there's another candidate for the title of this. Dilbert is submissive and breedable.
Yeah, I feel like that would kill any chance of this being monetized. I think that Mr. Arrow Strut is a better fit here. A bit safer.
Yeah, that's fair. And I have to say, Jim really is doing super well for himself. I'm kind of wondering if that metal Morph turned into on his lapel is an actual medal that you can earn in there, or if it's just, oh yeah, everyone knows that's just the form Morph takes when he's on Jim's jacket.
I don't know. But, yes, it'll make a man of him, and that man is James T. Kirk, apparently.
I mean, to be fair, James T. Kirk is pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I'm just saying, when they say it'll make a man out of him, they did not expect him to turn into Kirk.
Also, another bit, speaking of your comparisons to episode 1 earlier, I wanted to note that the spider, Bright Eyes, gives really heavy Sebulba vibes.
Oh, yeah. Now that you pointed out, yeah. Yeah, they were going for the Sebulba angle.
And unlike next week's / this week's video on Atlantis towards the end of the week, unlike that, I have no Stargate comparisons.
I'm sure you're just heartbroken at the failure to find any Stargate here.
I, honestly, I just have a hard time really comparing it to any other sci-fi in general.
Yeah,
Especially with like,
I understand.
I always found it interesting, how at first at the very start of the movie though, he's just like, we just need to take a boat over. It's like, okay, you established well that boats are spaceships with the prologue, but this is still a bit weird to say. You could just say ship instead.
Yeah.
Do you have any more notes?
Nope, not really. That about it for you. I did expect this to be a shorter one though.
Yeah, that's about all I've got for this one.
Treasure Planet is still an absolute classic, and if somehow you decided to watch this and you've never watched it before, you really should. It is an excellent movie, and it is a beautiful animated film, even if Disney fucked it over.
Yep.
I'm Cassandra the Void, and you will be able to join me on my channel in a weekish for Atlantis, the Lost Kingdom. That's the full
Lost
title, right?
Empire, not
Lost
Kingdom.
Empire. Even better. So, look forward to joining you all next time. Thanks for having me, Tiff.
Yep. And as usual, I've been Tillatran4, aka Tiv. Get your chevrons locked onto Cassandra's channel for next week.
Link to the video will be in link to my channel, and link to the channel will be in the description. There's not really anything there yet, but there will be soon. And once the video is up, there will be a link to that too.
Peace.